Hello and welcome to the Proverbs Daily Devotional. Today we're going to be looking at some scripture in Proverbs that will talk about four different types of animals and what kind of things or characteristics they have about themselves and how they make themselves wise. So, so basically we're going to talk about these four animals basically don't make excuses for their limitations, but they end up becoming wise in the way that they handle themselves. So let's get right to it. Proverbs chapter 30, verses 24 through 28 reads like this. Four things on earth are small, yet they are extremely wise. Ants are creatures of little strength, yet they store up their food in the summer. Hyraxes are creatures of little power, yet they make their home in the crags. Locusts have no king, yet they advance together in ranks. A lizard can be caught with the hand, yet it is found in kings' palaces. So ants, hyrax, locusts, and lizards each have qualities that wise people should have. The first statement says that these four creatures are small on earth, but are very wise. They have significant limitations, yet they overcome those limitations and actually thrive quite well. The great theologian and wise man, Clint Eastwood, said, "A man's got to know his limitations. Once you know your limitations, you can work and plan to work within those limitations and still achieve your goals." So let's look at each of these four creatures. The ant, number one. At some point, everyone feels powerless and not good enough. The verse states that the ant is not strong, and they are vulnerable to attack and easily killed. They survive simply because they won't quit. They have their community, and they serve it without any other ants telling them what to do or to work. They work to maintain their community quarters, their living area, and gather food while food can be found so they can survive through times when it is scarce. They give us an example of how dedication and hard work can work little by little. They work to keep their community fed and protected. God does expect us to do our part and work to get the things that we need and provide for our family and community. I can remember as a kid walking around outside and how many times I would see an ant carrying something, either that's a crumb of bread or some kind of food, or at least I thought it was food, and oftentimes it was significantly larger than the ant itself. Yet that thing would be carrying that thing diligently back to its home in its community of ants. And you see those ant hills that they basically make so they can live in. It's one thing that an ant has, and that's diligence. The hyrax. The hyrax is actually a relatively small animal. It looks kind of like a guinea pig, but it's bigger. So it doesn't really have, it's not a significant animal. And so Agar, that wrote these Proverbs, using a hyrax, which is, it's like a guinea pig, they can actually grow up to be about 20 inches long and about 9 pounds in weight. There's no real defense that they have against other animals, like wolves or snakes or eagles, which are predators of theirs. Everything seems to want to eat them, yet few of them actually become food to their predators. How is this possible? That's because they live in secure places. They stay close to home, and they have a remarkable sentry system, as some of them take positions at lookouts to spot trouble well ahead of it ever getting close. So they develop a plan for security, and they, despite their limitations, they make up for it in their community. The locust, number 3. Often great leaders come and provide leadership to achieve great success. we normally come out better when we have a good leader. This proverb moves to the locust, in which for the Israelites, they knew them well because they most likely have personal knowledge and experience of dealing with them. Farmers feared very few things more than the locust. They have an out-of-control breeding. They get together in a swarm, and then they move from field to field, consuming everything in their path. Multiply that by thousands and thousands, and the effects are devastating. Their secret is cooperation. Instead of flying in different directions, they fly in formation, becoming an unstoppable force. What we can't do on our own, we can achieve together in community. The lizard, number 4. This particular statement is probably kind of unusual because we're not typically people that are accustomed to having lizards around in our house, particularly even, and probably not even around our house, around the area. The lizard often feeds on insects, and often we're in the homes to keep insects controlled in the home. While it is relatively easy to grab a lizard by your hands, as the proverb says, and even potentially kill it, most people tolerated them by putting them in their home because they didn't do much harm and helped control a common problem, which was insects, thus improving the environment of the home. Similarly, wise people, even with significant limitations, can find ways to be helpful. So let's tie it all together. Ants, hyrax, locusts, and lizards show us how virtues can be applied to our lives. None of these make excuses for their limitations. They simply overcome their limitations and do what they can. Focus not on what you can't do, but focus on what you can do. By doing so, you can thrive as well and contribute meaningfully to our community. When we accept the truth of our limitations, we can apply these virtues in this proverb. Diligence of the ant, the prudence of the hyrax, the cooperation of the locust, and the helpfulness of the lizard. Now, friend, what make us wise if we can apply those virtues to our lives and live them out on a daily basis. See, everything in Proverbs draws us closer to God, and through God, He applies this kind of wisdom to our lives to make us better Christians and closer to Him. Thank you for joining today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks. God bless.